All right, guys, welcome back to Inside the Crease. I just wanted to reach out before we get into our guests here and say thank you guys for all the great feedback and all the positive stuff that you guys did for the episode 1 with Shane from Lax Zombie Dies. We both love the feedback and everything like that, which kind of motivates me to keep going. So that's why we have this great guest here today. And let's go ahead and get into it. So from the Las Vegas Desert Dogs, I know he's been playing with Cornell. There's a lot of achievements and everything, but you know me, I don't like to do big introductions. So from your Las Vegas Desert Dogs, guys, the number 41, Erik Turner. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing really well. I'm excited to be here. This is an elite setup. I feel very professional.
No, I appreciate that.
I'm probably not a professional at this at all. So
hey, I'm still working on it as well. So this is all new to me, but it's great to have you on for a second episode. And it's just that makes me move like, oh my God, all right, this is possible. Let's keep going.
Yeah,
Exactly. All right, Erik. So, I mean, for people that don't really know who you are, or obviously you play in LL now, but you did play with Cornell. How did you get into lacrosse? Like did you start middle school, high school, or how did you go?
I started when I was like 10 years old.
Okay.
And I'm from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, which is a very like hockey dominated space.
Correct.
So I moved from one area of the city to another. And in part of that move, my brother met a friend at school who was going to start playing lacrosse. So he brought it home to my parents and said, maybe we try this sport. And the billing for lacrosse in Edmonton is it's the perfect summer sport for hockey players. So at the time I was a hockey player, like stereotypical Canadian. And
Nice.
I said, sure. I mean, if it's going to help me with hockey, like let's get into it. So my brother and I were the first ones to play in our family, and as soon as I started playing it, I fell in love with it immediately. It was just like a culmination of all the things I love to do as an athlete. It was physical, it was fast, there was like a huge skill element to it. So I fell in love with it right away and then continued to pursue it from there.
Awesome. Nice. So how many siblings do you have? You said was it your older brother?
Just one younger brother.
A younger brother,
One
okay.
Younger brother, yeah.
Nice.
And we're like 3.5 years apart. So for the majority of our minor lacrosse career, we never got to play together.
Yeah.
But when I got into junior, which in Canada you play with from 16 to 21 years old.
Oh, wow.
My last couple years, we were in a position where we could overlap. So I ended up dropping down a level because he's a pretty serious football player and was just doing lacrosse as a supplement at that point. So we could actually be on the same team, which was like a really, really cool experience. It's something I'm really happy I did because, I mean, there's not too many times that you get to play with your brother on the same team in a competitive space. So that was a really special experience, and being able to share that with him since he kind of was the one that got me started by suggesting it. So
absolutely,
that was really neat.
No, I mean, I kind of feel like where you're coming from because I have a little brother and an older brother. My older brother is more like how you're saying. He was more a football guy. He was quarterback for all the schools, and he was actually big into that. And I started getting into lacrosse when I was in about 6th grade, maybe a little bit earlier than that. And then my younger brother, which is, God, he's 4 years younger than me. So it's kind of the same thing. I never got to play with any of my brothers, but growing with the teams and stuff, I kind of felt like, okay, these are my brothers. Like I grew up with them playing tournaments and all from middle school. It's the same kids. I went to high school, middle school, and tournaments and everything like that. And now today is still, they're in the men's leagues and stuff like that. So it's cool to still be able to hang out and play with them, doing this whole podcast and the fast break clothing, apparel, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's such a special kind of bond you form with guys, and we
Correct.
see it a little bit on the Desert Dogs. We have guys that grew up playing minor lacrosse together that were able to come together on our team, and it's really neat to see those bonds that they've formed and how that translates on the floor. So it's really special. I mean, those relationships you build through teammates and bus trips and these tournaments, like you said, those things are pretty unbreakable and you can't replicate it in other spaces. So
absolutely.
I think it just speaks. I always talk about this with players that I coach is those things are really what separates lacrosse, I think, in a lot of ways. The community aspect, how close of relationships you form.
Correct.
No matter where you go, like me coming into a new space here, right away being able to connect with the lacrosse community because we all share this common ground. And for my experience, like the lacrosse community is so oriented on just bringing people in and making people feel welcome. So
very true,
it's been very cool. And I feel very privileged to be a part of that.
Correct. No, okay, so coming from high school, so you played high school, right? You were saying 16 to 21.
Yeah, so in Canada it's different. Like here you have like, I mean, it's a little bit different in Vegas because it's unsanctioned. But you have like a school team in the U.S. In Canada, it's all club based.
Okay.
So it's based on like your hometown.
Gotcha.
It's not affiliated with schools. So like playing minor lacrosse, you just play for your hometown club, and it happens in the spring and a little bit into the summer. And then when you get out of minor lacrosse, once you hit 16 years old, you get drafted by a junior team.
Okay. And now is that how you got to Cornell, or how did you kind of work your way
so
to
like
that?
the tricky part for us, because all we do is we play box.
Okay.
Everything was really box oriented. So especially when I was younger, field lacrosse was being introduced finally, but it was very new. So a lot of the stuff was like, again, club based, and we're traveling to events.
So you started off playing box?
Box. And I didn't start playing field until I was in grade like 9 or 10.
Okay.
So it was like a pretty late start trying to like get a feel for it. But my advocation for box lacrosse has always been based on my own experience of my foundation was in box. And then I think the conversion from box to field is relatively easier than trying to go from field to box.
That's what I was going to get to. Yeah, that's what I was like. You started with box, so that's. Yeah. I would say you'd probably have a lot more. I mean, it just depends on the player, because obviously the field, there's a lot of peelers that you just have to play wall ball or something to kind of get more of the handle. In box, like you have to have a handle pretty much the whole time. And how was the transition going from box to field? Because then now you're switching to left hand. I know usually in box, you're just dominant hand that whole time, correct?
Yeah.
And then going field, you could do left, right.
Yeah. So I came up through like Canadian high school program. So the way that my recruiting process went is I went to some academy schools that have lacrosse. So like the Hill Academy is pretty famous now for its impact on college lacrosse, because there's so many Canadian players that have come through there. So I was able to go there and a couple other programs. But their methodology just is built around like, we're going to get you capable with your offhand, but we're going to lean into our strengths as box players, where you're going to just lean on that strength, those skills of your strong hand. So I think the bigger adjustment was when I got to college, and there was way more of an emphasis placed on, we need you to be a two-way dynamic player. And it's really dependent on the system that you're in. But the system that I played in, especially initially, was very based on like pretty traditional field lacrosse model of, we want our midfielders to dodge with both hands. We want that kind of style of play. So
now when you transition, because did you start off playing transition in box?
I was much more defensive for a good portion of it, because my stick skills were awful.
I mean, starting in, it's different.
I put more of an emphasis on that side of it, because I recognized that was more of a weakness in my game. So I put a lot of emphasis on shooting the ball, my stick skills, and then I became more of an offensive player once I got into junior.
Okay. Now going into college, did you stay midfield, attack?
Yeah, I played midfield and attack, which, I mean, I think looking at how I play now, I think I probably would have been a better defensive midi. But I think sometimes as a Canadian, when you get into the field lacrosse game, especially with a lot of the success that Canadians have had and the box skill set that we bring, you are immediately kind of labeled as this offensive player.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like you have good skills in catching the ball in tight and finishing the ball. So sometimes you get placed in that. And I think systematically, offense is a little bit easier for us to grasp because of the like style of lacrosse that we play. We don't talk a lot about like defensive systems. You don't get a lot of opportunities to learn that stuff. So I think like the biggest thing that was a gap for me going into the collegiate stuff was just not having enough experience in field lacrosse systems.
Correct.
Like the skill set piece wasn't a huge battle, but just understanding defensive rotations, slides, offensive systems, because I had started so late into high school, I just didn't have enough time to really develop. And some of it is on me for not figuring out that was something I need to prioritize building into my lacrosse IQ. But I mean, my collegiate experience, I learned a ton. I was on some amazing teams and got to really learn that stuff. So, I mean, now all that experience just translates to coaching, and I'm really grateful that I had the experiences that I did, because I think it adds to my strength as a coach, and it really adds to my fuel and how I prepare as a player now, understanding that all that stuff is so important.
Correct. Okay. Yeah. So when I started off, I played pole, and this was in middle school, middle school. And I can't remember what it was, but when I transitioned into high school, it was either the coach said there's too many deep holes or he needs more midfielders or something like that. And that's when I switched over to midfield, and I just played midfield my whole career until the end of high school. And then I kind of put it down because my family was more into the motocross and arena cross racing, dirt bikes and all that kind of stuff. So that was kind of my background. And I used to always get in trouble during high school time because I was traveling racing and also the season was going on. Yeah. So the coach is like, listen, you got to pick one or the other. And I was kind of just in between. But yeah, so after high school is when I finished and I kind of just put the stick away. But then my nephew started playing, God, maybe 6-7 years later after I put my stick down, and he was playing out here at one of the, I can't remember one of the tournaments, but it was because out here it was just basically clubs, middle school, high school, and that was pretty much it. Now it's like they have all the clubs like the 6-year-olds and all that stuff. So my nephew joined on that, and I went out to watch one of his games and just saw how many more kids there is playing and everything like that. And that's what made me grow Fast Break. I was like, oh my God, like lacrosse is like growing this much out here in Vegas now. So I started the whole Fast Break thing and everything like that. But it's now that we have the Desert Dogs here, and it's just, oh my God, it's just Vegas is taking off, and I love it with just how much, because when I started as high schools, we maybe had 4 different high schools. Now we have like almost every high school out here is doing it and everything like that. So it's, lacrosse is growing, and that's why I'm just so appreciative of doing the podcast and everything like that to try to get more people visions and eyes of what lacrosse is all about to keep growing it. I mean, I love the sport so much, and that's why I kind of go to you guys and do the vlogging. And I like to give the guys the ins and outs of lacrosse instead of just, hey, watch TV, this is lacrosse. No, like see what's behind the scenes, see how they actually interact and get down. And it's actually a cool thing. So I'm very grateful for all you guys and all the like Keith and Candace and everybody over at the Desert Dogs that let me come through to help film and do all that kind of stuff for my products.
Yeah, it's been cool. I think like my experience, because we've been doing a lot of community stuff here and trying to get more kids the opportunity to like at least try it.
Absolutely.
We've been going to lots of schools and community centers and things like that. And I mean, we quite often get the response of like, what is this? Like, what are we about to do? And I think it's been really cool to see from coaching in the community, the size of lacrosse, the presence of lacrosse in this area. It's much stronger than I would have expected. If you hear Las Vegas, you don't necessarily associate it with like a lacrosse place.
Exactly.
But, I mean, coaching here and seeing the amount of kids and showing up to fields and seeing goals and kids practicing throughout the week on their own has been really cool. But I think with us being in the community and being able to go to these schools, I think we'll be able to help that growth a little bit.
Absolutely.
Which is something that I think we're all really excited about, that opportunity to help promote this even more.
Correct. Yeah. So, okay. I know I'm jumping back and forth. Let's go back to, so at Cornell, like, how was Cornell? Like, were you still playing box, like in different leagues and stuff, or were you just strictly all?
Yeah. So for Canadians, it's a pretty grind type schedule. So we go through our whole collegiate season. And then like my freshman year at Cornell, I landed back at home. And then within 24 hours, I was on a bus ride to a box game.
Jeez.
So basically you're going like you go from field lacrosse right into box lacrosse. So you're playing like year round, which it's a lot of fun.
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
a lot of fun. Like,
absolutely.
I mean, it's taxing on your body physically because field lacrosse at the Division I level, especially, there's a ton of training and time that goes into that. But I wouldn't trade that experience for anything. I mean, the opportunity to play year round and play competitively year round, and you come back in the summer and you're with all your buddies from back home, and like I said, being able to take road trips and go to junior games. Like junior is an amazing experience because you're practicing multiple times a week and you're around like all your best friends all the time. And lacrosse at that time is a ton of fun. So,
well, I know you're just such a busy guy because just today, like I know this morning you were doing training and now you're on the podcast. And then as soon as you leave the podcast, now you're going to go coaching. So I love that, like you're just keeping yourself busy 24/7, like with the lacrosse.
And I think that comes from awesome. I think that comes from being a student athlete. In the collegiate level, like you get used to those kind of schedules, right? It's like you train at 6 a.m., you have class, you go to practice, go do your homework, reset kind of thing. And somewhere in there you mix in some degree of social life and hanging out with teammates and things like that. So when you don't have that structure, it feels a little bit uncomfortable. So I've just tried to maintain it. And I mean, I think a lot of it just comes from genuinely like loving my opportunities right now and what I get to do. So
absolutely.
I feel a little bit off if I'm not doing those things because it's really special that I get to play lacrosse and be a professional at it and have the opportunities to coach and do things like this.
Absolutely.
I've worked really hard to be in this position, and I mean, I think the window for it is pretty small, so you want to just maximize that as much as you can.
100%, yeah. I mean, if you guys don't follow his Instagram, go follow his Instagram. Like every post is him just constantly training or working or anything, guys. And so when you were playing at Cornell, then you went back to Canada to do your box. When did you get drafted into the NLL for box?
I didn't get drafted.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
I didn't get drafted. So I mean, I think what I learned from my collegiate experience is I came in there, and I mean, you just referenced like the amount that I train and stuff, and I came from a lacrosse community that, I mean, it's not super big. So if you're working generally hard, you're gonna excel a little bit, and if you're fortunate enough to have athleticism, which I was, you can be a top end player relatively quickly. But then being introduced to the level at Cornell, you start to see like, oh, this is what it really means to like work hard and prepare.
Gotcha, yeah.
So through that 4 years, that was like the biggest growth experience, was like, oh, there's another level.
So you spent all 4 years at Cornell?
All 4 years, and I didn't really start getting opportunities to play until like my third or fourth year.
Okay.
And even then I was relatively like depth kind of player. So going into the draft, and part of this too was dropping down from junior A to junior B to play with my brother. I didn't get drafted, which was pretty eye-opening in terms of like me needing to assess how I was approaching this, because that was a goal. I wanted to be in the NLL.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
wanted to play professionally. It wasn't like I was just there to play college lacrosse. Like
Correct.
this was a goal of mine. So I had to like really take a step back and evaluate like, okay, if we're going to be serious about this, we're going to have to make a push. So that was a big wake up call. And I think through the Cornell experience and then not being drafted, that's really what's motivated the way that I prepare and the way that I work now, because I was having to try to like earn a spot.
Correct.
Rather than being picked by an organization.
Gotcha. Absolutely. So what year was it when you were actually got into the NLL?
So I had like I had a tricky post collegiate time getting into the NLL. I made a move to a different province that had senior A lacrosse, which is if you're an undrafted player, is a pathway that a lot of guys take, because a lot of NLL players will go into these senior A leagues and play in the summer in their local communities, and the quality of lacrosse is really high, and most of the NLL coaches are affiliated with some of the teams.
Okay.
So it's a pathway for you to kind of prove that you can play at that level, because you're matching up with NLL players. So I made a move out there in 2018, and I tore my ACL in a preseason game. So I was out of lacrosse for like a year while I recovered. I had to get surgery, obviously, and do my full recovery to be ready to play. So I came back in the summer of 2019, same thing, went out and was able to have a pretty good summer. And then I made the practice roster with Colorado in 2019.
Okay.
But that was the year that COVID shut the whole world down. So we only got a part of a season. And then again, we were shut down for a while. So between the injury and then the pandemic, I had like a 3-year gap.
Now, were you in Colorado, or did you go back home? Or?
I was back home.
Okay,
I came back home while everything was shut down, and that's where I really like put my head down. And I said, okay, you know what, I'm going to come back when we do get an opportunity to play. I'm just going to work as hard as I can through this break. There's really nothing else to do because everything was shut down.
Did you have to do like full rehab on the ACL, or did you kind of just work yourself back into it?
No, I did a full rehab, and then I came back and played before the pandemic hit. So my knee was already in a good spot, and then I was just in a position where I was like, okay, we're just going to really focus energy on filling the gaps in my game to be an active roster player versus a practice roster player. And I mean, this wasn't always the plan. Obviously, you can't plan for these things, but I was able to come back the following season and make the active roster in Colorado, and we had a championship season where we ended up winning it. So
that was awesome.
It just
congrats to that, by the way. That's I mean, your first team playing with, and then there you guys get the championship. It
was just cool. Like, I mean, I think for me, it was just very very rewarding to know everything that had gone into
everything that you've done. Yes, correct.
Just to be able to stand on the floor and like, it was a dream to even be in the NLL, but even more so to win a championship. So for my first full season to culminate in that way and be a part of a group that was able to find a way to win was
now,
really special.
How's that going into your first game, like coming out into like a big crowd like that? Is it like nerve wracking, or are you just kind of like, hey, I know what I'm supposed to be doing? Like, let's just go ahead and play the game.
I think there's a little bit of nerves, obviously. I remember when my coach told me, like, you're playing. And I was already kind of on or in tune with the fact that I'd be suiting up because I had done well through training camp and I was in position to play. But, I mean, once you hear it for real, it's for real, you know. Yeah. So I remember just being pretty excited, but having the butterflies for sure.
Oh, I'm sure, absolutely.
My first shift in the NLL, the guy that I was covering took an outside shot and scored, so it was like, that's not a great start. But I think it was just, I think with the amount of work that I had put in, it was more exciting than nerve-wracking because, I mean, your preparation builds your confidence, right? So
correct.
I felt pretty confident going into it, and I think that's the benefit of the Canadian model is you play your summer circuits against all these guys. So it's not like you're jumping on the floor for the first time and seeing somebody you've never seen before or playing at that level I mean, the NLL is definitely a step up from the Senior A circuit. It's faster. The environment's different.
But at least you got your feet wet before jumping into it.
Against,
gotcha.
So, that helps a lot. But yeah, definitely nervous. But I mean, we were able to win the first game that I played in and the first game that we played in Colorado in front of that crowd, which is that the Loud House is definitely a special place to play, was incredible. And that whole season, just it's very storybook. So
gotcha. So when you went into the NLL, did you start off playing transition, or did you go to defense right away, or how did you?
Yeah, so when I played in Senior A, I was a defender transition player.
Okay.
I think those terms are getting relatively synonymous now. Like you look at the majority of the defenders in our league, they're very skilled, and a lot of them play offense in the summer or are capable of running the floor. And I think it just speaks to the growth of the skill level and just the evolution of the game. Like there's not too many guys. You can't really make a roster at our level if you can't handle the ball and go score now. You know, so when they use the term transition, I think it's a little bit redundant in some ways because I think so many guys are capable of doing it. But yeah, I've been a defensive player for the last 4 to 5 years, which is, I think, honestly, like, again, looking at my career, I've always been more defensive focused. When I played basketball, that was what I was best at. And I think just reconnecting with that a lot has helped me be in the position that I am, just because I think I see the floor very well from the defensive side. I'm pretty analytical person. So
I hear you. Yeah, see, the box league is like all new to me. Yeah. Like that's why I say transition or defense or offense. Like I don't know 100% of all the rules of the box, and because I grew up just playing field, so the box is all new to me. I played in like 1 or 2 leagues with Nick Peterson. He runs Battleborn Lacrosse and stuff. So so I played a couple tournaments with him, and then. So it was different for sure. Like it's definitely a lot more physical. That's I mean, you definitely have to understand that. But I feel like box is growing a lot more now. And again, like now we have the Desert Dogs and everybody's growing. So it's cool to see that progressing. And I just, like I said, if you guys have not seen a box lacrosse game, go to one in person. TV doesn't really do it.
Yeah, it's a different experience for sure when you get to see it in person and you can hear the guys interact on the floor. You can see the physicality level. Up close and personal, you see somebody get smashed into the glass or whatever it is. It's a totally different experience.
And it's like my first time, I think it was the home opener for you guys. And that was my very first time actually coming down onto a field and filming. And I'm just like, when you're right there on the field with them, like not on the field, but I was on the other side of glass, you're just like, oh man, these guys are actually pretty big out here. Like they're gonna run through you or do something. So you guys are killing it. But so when you were playing for Mammoth, how did the Dogs come about? And then let me scratch that. Yeah. Did you play in the game out here, the Mammoth against the Seals at the Orleans? I guess that was probably like the NLL's test to see if we should.
I was a part of the team, but that was the year I was on the practice roster. So that was my first year in the NLL. So I was here. I didn't play, and I just remember watching it and us getting smacked. Yeah. We had the Vegas flu, I think, a little bit in that game. So San Diego kind of ran over us. But, I mean, you could tell right away that Vegas was a good market for lacrosse. The crowd there was awesome. And just seeing the way that things have progressed for me, being a part of that, the season in Colorado and then getting the call for the expansion draft and kind of circling back to here has been pretty cool. So
that was the whole how you got into the Dogs. Was it the expansion draft? So you got a phone call or?
Yeah, so I was after the season was done with Colorado. I took a quick trip with my girlfriend to San Diego. I mean,
I'm sorry, when you say done with the season, just the season. You didn't leave the team or anything, right? It was just the season was over with.
Yeah,
the
season was over. So we had just won.
Okay.
And the season is pretty travel heavy. Like you're away a lot. So we just took some time. We took 4 days to take a trip to San Diego.
Nice.
And, the expansion draft is coming. They can only protect so many guys.
That's what's going to be my next question. Yeah. How much of the team can they actually protect?
I don't know the exact number, but it's not a lot.
Okay.
And when you have like strong veteran presence, like we did on a championship roster, and you're a first year,
correct?
Like technically it was my rookie year, so you know that you're kind of up for grabs. And I mean, you never know for sure, but there's a possibility that you could be taken. And what ended up happening was the Desert Dogs selected a player and then made a trade to get 2 of us back. So I wasn't initially selected, but expansion teams have gotten pretty smart they know guys that teams need that they can't protect, so they'll select one so that they can get more in return.
Okay.
So they made a pick, and then I was part of a trade to get moved over here alongside Sam Firth, who's one of our lefty forwards.
Okay.
So I got a call from our GM in Colorado while I was in San Diego, just saying, hey, this is what's happened. Thank you for everything you've done, and we wish you all the best. And
now, how did that kind of hit you? Was it kind of like, I mean, I knew kind of it was going to start, something might have happened, but at the same time, you just got done winning a championship, and you're probably just like, oh, this is going to suck.
Yeah, a little bit of mixed emotions, obviously. Yeah. Like leaving a space where you've been in a great locker room and had a ton of success and just winning a championship. It's obviously hard to leave spaces like that. And I mean, Colorado will always be really special to me just because they took a chance on me, like Correct. I'm an undrafted guy from a pretty small lacrosse market with not a lot of notoriety behind it. So I'll always have a really great appreciation for that organization for giving me my shot and creating an opportunity Absolutely. Where I can be an NLL champion. So obviously like a lot of sadness around leaving that locker room, but also for me, it was exciting because you get to be a part of something new and exciting and special. And I knew
like growing it.
Yeah. And I knew the guys that were involved. I knew Coach Williams was in charge at the time and some of the other guys that were involved. And, when you know the quality of people that are your leadership, it's always immediately
kind of
exciting.
Get you motivated more. Like, all right, let's grow this. Like, this is a cool opportunity.
And I think like for me on an individual level, my role in Colorado was again like a little bit more depth because we had such a strong veteran defense, and I got tons of opportunity there. But I think I was ready to make another step. So. Coming into a new team, there's open door, right? Like everybody is kind of on an even playing field in terms of earning your playing time and getting the opportunity to showcase what I'm able to do and play in a new system that I think suits my game really well has been really awesome. And I think the quality of what we're building here is really strong. And our coach has said it from the beginning that we're building around character people, and you can really feel that when you're in our locker room. So. Going back to it, it was obviously sad, but I talked to all the coaches from Vegas the day of, and they all gave me a call, and I just said, I'm really excited to get this going with you guys. It's gonna be awesome. So.
Absolutely, no, that's a great opportunity. So now I guess coming to Vegas and it's all brand new. Like, how was it all? I guess slow in the beginning, trying to get spots to go practice, or was it all just pretty much you guys had a different field somewhere? You guys were all practicing, or how did it all work out to build the team where it is now? Because I know you guys started off with a lot of different players for sure, and then it started getting cut down.
So training camp, you bring in X amount of people, and every team is a little bit different. As a new team, you typically will bring in more guys because you're trying to figure out like what does this team
Correct.
look like, right? So the way that NLL training camps work for the most part is you have 4 weekends and they kind of rotate locations. So our first one was based in Ontario.
That's
because
right.
They have an unbelievable training facility there that their professional team has built. So,
nice.
And it's a pretty good hub because a lot of our players are Canadian or from Ontario
Correct.
to begin with. So it's just an easy place to gather. So, I mean, getting there for the first time and getting to be face-to-face, like all of us, as soon as the expansion draft had kind of passed and we had made a lot of our free agent signings, we had gone out of our way to like create a group chat. So we were communicating through the off season and getting to a little bit of a relationship built. And guys know each other through either playing against each other or playing with each other in different spaces. So some of that stuff was relatively easy to do, but just getting those conversations going so that when we showed up on day one, it wasn't like, hey, what's your name? Who are
Correct.
you? Like,
yeah.
It's just,
No, absolutely.
We're rolling because you don't get a lot of time. Like 4 weeks, 4 weekends isn't a lot of time to build it. So I think just getting on the floor for the first time face to face was really exciting, and guys were flying around. Obviously, it's a lot of energy, a lot of excitement. So
everybody's trying to get their spot to get in.
Yeah, and I think it's early stages with an expansion team. Like when I came into training camp in Colorado, we would bring not very many people because they have their core of their team already, and they're trying to fill like maybe certain spots, and there's always people that can surprise you. But a lot of it was like, let's just make sure that we're ready to go for week one.
Oh, absolutely.
For us, it was like a little bit more of an evaluation process of like who's going to make our team. And also we got to start to introduce our systems and figure out like what those look like so that we can be ready to go. So it was really cool to be a part of that and see the difference in a training camp between a team that already kind of has their established kind of culture and how they do things versus one that there's obviously a foundation of what we're trying to do, but we don't have guys that are experienced in that yet because everybody's coming from different spaces.
Yeah, because I remember, I think it was the season ticket holder opening for all the season ticket holders.
Yeah.
After they left, then you guys did a little scrimmage against Colorado, and I noticed that like half of the team was in the stands for the first half, and then you guys swapped and then did it. So how was that playing, like, I guess, against me? I know it wasn't an actual game. It was more just kind of probably get you guys' feet wet. But playing against your old team again, like how was that kind of on the field? Was it everybody just knows their own spots? Like, all right, we're just playing lacrosse. I'm not here.
And that's. I mean, I think if you can't like separate yourself from those previous relationships, then you're gonna have a hard time playing against anyone. Because across our league, there's no team that we play against that we don't have a connection to in some way. You know what I mean? So. Obviously, you're a little bit more amped up because of the emotional attachment you have to being a former member of a team. But really at that stage, it was about like, hey, we're trying to get ready. Like, this is our last weekend of training camp. We have a game not too long from now. So
no more bullshit. Let's we're ready to buckle down, guys.
And it was cool because I think through training camp, you're like, our first couple of scrimmages, we struggled a little bit when we were playing in Akwesasne, which was a really cool experience. And you're like trying to find your way a little bit. And then to see it like really come together against the defending champs, and we ended up winning that scrimmage. It was like, okay, you know what? Like that's like
a lot
encouraging.
Of potential,
you know,
and
like
stuff
there's something really good here. And I mean, I think the bigger one for me was when we beat them in the regular season. And that was obviously one that was like, I was pretty amped up for them coming back and being able to play against them and to have that result. And I thought that was one of our stronger games this season as a team. We played just a very like sound overall game. So I think our messaging this whole year has been like, we're building and you have some success and you have some stuff that you need to correct. And
I mean, like going back, it's like you said, it's the first season. Like everybody's new to it. Like, and I know I messaged you a couple times after games and stuff like that. Just say, hey, keep your head up. You guys are clicking. Like, I know it's going to click soon. And then like, when you guys are on it, you guys are on it. Like the ball's moving, the transition, the defense, everything. You guys are killing it. And I just remember that first one. I was like, "Fuck yeah, here we go!" Like it's finally starting to click, and you guys are starting to click, and it's just like you guys are all working together now. I'm like, all right, here comes the dogs, guys. Like watch out. Yeah. And it's going to be just like any other season. Though you're going to have your ups and downs, but it's just like how do you build from your losses? You know, just like all right, what do we got to work on, guys? And going to that, like how hard? Because I know there's just a select few of you guys that are actually locals. How hard is it to, I guess, say practice as a team when you have a game coming up? Like, do you guys do like the shooting around like the day before? Is the when you guys actually like, all right, let's practice, let's get our.
Yeah, so I mean, the answer to that is it's basically impossible until the day before the game because everybody is there's 9 of us that live locally, but everybody else is living in 6 different locations.
Okay.
So we do like midweek meetings over Zoom or whatever it is to review film or to talk about certain things. That's the midweek kind of piece of it. And for the local guys, we're getting together to train and get on the field and do our skill work. But to collectively get everybody together, the only way to do it throughout the week is digitally. And then like on a Saturday game day, Friday, everybody will fly in and we'll practice that night. and that'll be kind of our practice. So, I mean, that's the challenge of the NLL in a lot of ways is you have things happen in a game on a Saturday, and then you have to wait till the following Friday to get back on the floor together.
Gotcha.
So it's, I mean, the weeks are great when you win, and then they're really long when you lose because you're just stewing over the mistakes and you don't get a chance to like get back on the field right away and address them.
Now, I mean, not trying to get anybody in trouble or anything like that. Do you think this is kind of like a NLL like budget kind of deal, or is it because that not everybody's in the same state? If you're on that same team, everybody kind of just flies out from everywhere. Is it kind of like a player decision, a coach decision? Like, hey, you guys.
I think it's just the nature of the league.
Okay.
And when you look at like the history of other professional leagues, they've gone through a similar process. And the one that I can reference the most because I've trained with some of these guys is the Canadian Football League, the professional football league in Canada. They're probably the most recent pro league I can think of that's gone through a similar transition. And they were in a position where guys were working secondary jobs throughout, and it was kind of play on weekends, do your other job throughout the week. And then it got to a point where I think the league wanted to take a step forward. And to do that, you have to have guys on site more, and you have to like practice more and do all those things. So they've taken a step forward where all their guys, when it's in season, they're at the facility every day, they're practicing every day. And you look at other leagues, it's kind of been a similar track, right?
Okay.
The NBA had pretty low paychecks for a long time, and then it's progressed to what it is now. NHL, same thing. So we're like pretty, like our history isn't super long, right? So our league is going to get there, I think, at some point.
I know
it's just where we are right now.
Absolutely.
And it's, I mean, I think the part, it's challenging in a lot of ways because you want to be around your teammates more and and all that stuff. But I think the thing that makes it really unique and special is guys are doing this on top of having full-time families and other jobs. And you look at like the level that we play at on the weekends, and then you factor in like these guys are doing whatever other thing throughout the week. It's pretty incredible. So I'm really excited for that progression. I'm obviously selfishly, I hope it happens during my tenure in the league, but whenever it does happen, just to see the elevation and the quality of play based on how skilled guys are right now with like really a kind of a part-time involvement, it's going to be pretty cool to see.
Awesome. Yeah. And so how was it transitioning? I know we probably got we still got a little bit of time, but transitioning from Colorado to Vegas, how was it transitioning to kind of like start living out here? Like, and I know in the beginning you guys were doing a lot of promoting and going around and doing all that kind of stuff. So how was that? Because I know, like I said, was it the local guys that live here help doing all the promoting and everything like that?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me last year in Colorado, I wasn't really sure what my status was going to be.
Okay.
But I knew in my head at some point a priority for me was living in a market that I played in.
Okay.
Because I wanted to be like, really what I do outside of playing is I coach and I do community stuff. And if I'm not doing it in that market, I would be doing it at home. So the opportunity to like invest fully into the community that I was playing in was really important to me. So when the expansion draft happened, that first day when I was starting to get calls from Vegas, one of the first questions they asked is, are you interested in moving into market? And I said yes right away.
Nice.
So I knew that was going to be something I was going to do. And I think just like I said, based on what I do outside of lacrosse, coaching as much as I do and trying to promote the game, it was just like a natural fit. So the thing that stood out to me right away, and I think I've said this endless amount of times, is like the community in Vegas is so impressive to me and how welcoming everybody had been and has been throughout this whole process to us. And the excitement that has been built around our team in a community that's never really had a box lacrosse team before has been absolutely like astonishing and so special. So right from the start, running that first, like there was a group of us that came in through the summer when we had first kind of made an announcement of like the team name and trying to get this going and having a free clinic where we had, I mean, couldn't even tell you how many kids. There was hundreds of kids on the field.
Photos and stuff it was crazy.
Unbelievable. And then a season ticket holder event where we hadn't even played a game yet, and there was 400 people that took time out of their day in the middle of the summer to come hang out with us and just meet us. And then our opening game where you have 7,000 plus people show up. It's just been awesome.
That was awesome. I think they were saying like that was the most views or something like that on ESPN Plus or something like that.
So
I was like, wow.
The excitement around our team has been really special. And like I said, just the community aspect of how willing people have been to bring us into schools, to get us involved and like see different aspects of the city and make us feel really a part of this, even though we're coming from these different spaces. Like, I mean, I've really fallen for Las Vegas in that way, and it's been really cool to be a part of.
No, absolutely. And just, I'm speaking for myself, I'm sure probably a lot of people in Vegas too. It's I would say more of an honor to have an LL team in Vegas now, because to me, I want to say it motivates a lot more kids now to be like, oh man, now we have a pro team. Like, let me get out there and try to do some more. So from me, and I'm sure, like I said, from probably more people, is just thank you guys. And we really appreciate you guys coming in. And then now you're coaching with Faith Lutheran and doing that. So that's probably a great opportunity for those kids to be like, oh my God, we got Erik Turner as a coach. Like,
yeah, that's been really cool. I mean, I think I was really kind of like hunting for an opportunity to coach.
Okay. So how did that come about? Like, you were like friends? Did you know Max before, or?
Yeah, I actually did know. I've known Max for quite a while, because once I graduated from school, it was like the first year I had graduated from Cornell. I came to play in the Sin City Box Classic in the winter, and Max and I were actually teammates.
Nice.
So we played on the same team.
Oh yeah.
And our team was like absurdly stacked for that event. So I had known him, and like we didn't have a ton of interactions from there, but once we had moved into Market, Max had reached out and said, like, hey, which of you guys are interested in potentially coaching? And Max is great because he obviously selfishly wants to promote Faith.
Yeah.
But he took it with the lens of, okay, there's this amount of you guys who are potentially interested in coaching. Like, let's make sure that we put you in spots so this is like balanced across our community. It's not just everybody at Faith.
Yeah.
Which I thought was like pretty cool to hear him say that.
Absolutely.
But we got to communicating, and Faith is really close to where I'm living. His vision for what he needed in the program aligned with what I could bring to it. So I committed to coach there, and it's been an awesome experience, and meeting those kids and seeing how excited they are about lacrosse and being able to share some of my knowledge with them has been really awesome. And I think like being able to coach competitively for Faith and seeing the league dynamics here has been cool. It's a new experience for me, so I've just been enjoying it.
And then also, I know it's not just Faith. I can't remember. I'm sorry. What was the box team that you were coaching during the U.S. Box LA from?
So I co-direct with a guy named PJ Martin. It's called the Pack Box All Stars.
Okay.
And the idea really is built around kind of like the NLL. We try to bring kids from all these different markets together and give them an opportunity to learn like real box.
Yeah.
Because a gap in the U.S. system from my experience has just been like teaching kids box is a little bit of a gap. Because a lot of times what you get is like a conversion of field lacrosse to the indoor game. So you see kids like split dodge and shoot down the alley, and they don't actually learn like true box concepts. So what we built is this idea of bringing these kids from the Pacific Northwest and a couple of Canadian kids together and forming these like all-star teams to go to U.S. Boxla events. So Vegas was our second event that we ever did. It's a new concept.
And you guys won your
had a lot
division
of success.
too.
Yeah, it was really pretty cool to see the kids do that. And then we'll go to nationals again in the summer. So I think the hope is now being in this community to build in more box for Vegas kids and give them an opportunity to play it, because it's such a good development tool. And that's why we've had a lot of success with the Pack Box program. Is a lot of these field lacrosse kids and now programs are understanding the value of integrating box as part of your training, just because of the volume of touches, the skill set that it provides. So that's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun to do that.
Cool. And I know we're getting close on time. I know you got to get to your practice, but before we head out, do you want to kind of let everybody know about this weekend's event and how they could like bid on your jerseys and game-worn jerseys and everything like that? Just so, and I think the link is on the Dogs page. Do you have one on your page too?
I do.
Okay,
right now,
so if we could.
I think it's an important thing to talk about for sure.
Yeah.
So for those who maybe are unfamiliar, our coach had a son named Tucker who tragically passed away from cancer. So our coach is a Hall of Famer in the NLL. He's an unbelievable player and played a lot of his career in Buffalo. So they started out this Tucker Out Cancer Night in Buffalo. So there's a game that's played there every year where they wear specialty jerseys, and it's like a way to raise money and show kind of some support for Tucker and for the Williams family. So now with him here, we're going to be the second Tucker out game. And we're really fortunate that we get to do that this weekend in combination with the Rochester Nighthawks. And both teams will be wearing these specialty jerseys, and all of them are up for auction, with all the proceeds going to organizations that benefit childhood cancer. So it's really special. I think it speaks to like lacrosse as this medicine tool, this medicine game, a lot of the origins of the sport. Like this is definitely more than a game for us.
Correct.
And it's going to be pretty special. So again, all the jerseys are up. You can go on the Desert Dogs page. You can go on my page at Erik Turner 41 on Instagram. The links are there. And the more money that we can raise for this, the better. But I think 100%. More importantly, like what we would really love to see is just a really full arena. Showing people and showing our coach and for our team. That'll mean a lot to see people out there showing their support for this, because it's pretty impactful.
Absolutely. And again, I greatly appreciate you guys, the Las Vegas Desert Dogs, you and doing everything for the community, all the guys, everything. It's very much appreciated. So guys, like if you guys want to check out that game, it's 25th, right? Saturday 25th at 7:30.
Correct.
7:30 at the Michelob Ultra Arena, guys. Again, you could go onto the Las Vegas Desert Dogs Instagram page or Erik's Instagram page, and you could go onto the little link they have, and it just has everybody's jerseys that they're going to be game worn, and you can bid on them to win them. And I think after the game, actually, if you do win that bid, you could go up to the player to get them to sign it.
Yeah, we'll autograph it, and we'll just hand them off, basically, which is, I think, really cool. And I think that's something I've always really valued about the NLL, is this like direct fan interaction that we get to have a lot of the time. And I think, again, in a game like this where it's pretty impactful and pretty special, to be able to like do that at the end of the game is going to be really cool. So I think Landon Kells, I think, is the current bid leader. His jersey's at like $500, which is awesome. And I think like the cause is obviously super meaningful, and
100%.
I would be pumped to hand my jersey off to a bidder who wants it and sign that for them. So yeah, it's cool. I'm really happy that we're doing that.
Cool. I appreciate that. And again, Erik, I appreciate you coming on here, man, for this opportunity, for help me grow kind of what I'm trying to do, and I'm trying to get obviously a lot more people on too. So I greatly appreciate you being the first very pro player on my podcast. Like, it was a little bit nerve-wracking for me, because I mean, we kind of know each other, but we don't know each other. So it's cool to hear everything that you were talking about, because I didn't know any. Like I said, I'm new to the box, and hearing you doing everything from Canada to here and everything that it's cool for me, and that's why I love to have this, because I'm sure the listeners are gonna be like, wow, okay, I didn't really know that as well. So I hope to see you on the field this weekend, and I hope you guys take it, and let's just have hopefully finish out the season pretty good, man. And just, again, thank you so much for coming on here. It's a great opportunity for me, and yeah, guys, like I said, if you guys want to bid on one of his jerseys, go to his link on his Instagram or onto the Desert Dogs. And yeah, I know you have to get to practice here soon, so I greatly appreciate you, Erik. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Cool, guys. So please, if you want to follow this is going to be on Spotify. This is going to be on YouTube. Please like, subscribe, comment. So thank you, guys. Appreciate it. And thank you for Erik coming in. And until the next time, guys, I'm sure we could probably have him on for another episode later on after the season or something. I just know he's a busy guy, man. So thank you, Erik. And until the next one, guys, thank you.